I haven't reported very much on Jade Helm. I've been doing a lot of research. There's certainly a lot of disinformation out there and confusion as to what's actually going on. The cover story, of course, is they're preparing to train the most elite forces of our military, the Green Berets, the SEALs, and so on, how to integrate into communities and infiltrate communities and find the center of influence in these communities, so they can use this intelligence and tactical information knowledge for creating operations and executing them overseas, supposedly, or in hostile places. Well, what if America is the hostile place? And really what it is it's setting up an infrastructure which is already in place at this point, and it's sort of coordinating how the infrastructure will work once it is employed. It doesn't necessarily mean martial law, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, it might never be martial law. The way they've put this together, it's an artificial intelligence system that will actually, this is so big brother, it's unbelievable, will actually monitor your behavior through this artificial means. And again, pre-crime stuff. I mean, well, of course, Spielberg, clearly insider, all of Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen, gives us clues to what happens in the future. This is clear with 9/11, so many examples of it. It's not a coincidence. From The Simpsons to The Terminator to millions of, hundreds of films and have shown this number, 9/11, caution 9/11. And, you know, but people that are making the films, they don't understand it. The people that are starring in the films, for the most part, all of them are compartmentalized. They might not even be aware they're part of this operation to install the New World Order. They might not even realize it. They're just a cog in the wheel, and they know as much as they know. You're crazy to think that my boss is a genocidal psychopath, pedophile, rapist, satanic ritual abuse murderer. I mean, they exist, ladies and gentlemen. Where do you think they come from? Where do you think they really don't exist? You are really naive enough to believe that they don't exist, while the results of their actions permeate our society at every level. Now, religion has all been co-opted and controlled, so don't go after religion, but you better damn well have faith in God, because this is truly a spiritual battle between good and evil. Whether you live a secular life, or you're a devout Christian, or an Orthodox Jew, you certainly know Zionism is behind most of this that's been going on. You know. Oh, but then you're labeled a self-hating Jew. There is going to be many, many calamities coming up in the future. It could be a natural disaster that is promulgated by HARP-type technology. It could be the design financial collapse, which they do over and over again, creating these bubbles and collapsing them. Yellen, the Jewish grandmother at the Federal Reserve, the old Jewish grandmother, which they put in place specifically for that purpose, to make her just so likable, because, oh, she looks like your old Jewish grandmother. Yellen says, well, you know, they're considering that they're going to have to raise interest rates soon because of growth. There is no growth. It's all smoke and mirrors, ladies and gentlemen. And come September, they probably will not. They will not be able to increase the rates. It's all a political ploy to continue the Ponzi scheme, to beef it up as much as they can so they can collapse the economy. This is what they did in Germany. They destroyed the value of the currency in Germany, allowed the rise of Hitler to begin, funded Hitler, while they bought up all these corporations for pennies on the dollar that went out of business due to the devaluation of the currency, and nobody could buy anything. They're evil, evil evil, Machiavellian deceivers, ladies and gentlemen. And Jade Helm is, again, it has a veneer of one thing and a crusty undercurrent on the other. And what happens when you have this type of a infiltration of communities, and artificial intelligence that will predict behavior due to unbelievable statistical analysis, behavioral analysis. This all goes back to MK Ultra. I keep talking about MK Ultra. In fact, Saturday I'm going to do an entire show on my radio broadcast. That would be Saturday the 22nd of August from 1 to 3 p.m. on United FM radio. I'm going to go into this deeply. Now, MK Ultra is all about mind control, and it was sort of piggybacked with like 140 different sub-projects, and supposedly it ended, but it went black, and they've been doing this. All the celebrities, a lot of them have been mind controlled with precision, and you could see their meltdowns, and you could see their freezes. They're like robots, some of these people. It's not just a coincidence. It's not that they're high. It's not that they're just, it's all part of this social control, because these are the people that the masses look to. They have to control the influencers, those who influence, musicians influence, artists influence, actors and actresses influence. It's just part of it. In fact, a great book you should read is Subliminal Seduction by Keyes. I'm going to get the book. A great book everyone should read is Subliminal Seduction. It's from 1972. It's an old book. You can probably still find a PDF online. In fact, I'll link a PDF on the website howardnema.com and in the description of this video. It's just unbelievable. Wilson Bryan Key was a professor of advertising, and he wrote this book. It's basically about advertising, and I go into with the whole concept of how propaganda and Goebbels, they are literally selling us. These evil bastards are selling us our own demise. They're selling us their death plan, their control plan to utilize us as useless idiots, basically. Useful idiots, excuse me. As useful idiots, for the most part. If you're not part of the club, you are stake on the table by choice and consent. So, he wrote this book, and the reason there's a tie-in here to the Jade Helm, we're talking about manipulating the public's opinion. Those that are the resistors, Jade Helm will the last pages of Subliminal Seduction draw the conclusion about influencing through the media. The fact of the matter is that Virginia Nauer, who was the director of the Office of Consumer Affairs in Washington under Nixon, noted that there was subliminal advertising in a Gilby's ad, and brought it to the attention of the Consumer Affairs, and the material was carefully chosen, so simple that a child could understand what was going on. And basically the government, they just really weren't interested. Several of her department consultants, it was discovered, had received the subliminal materials. They reported that indeed something was going on in in the advertisements, which seemed to involve a generally unknown technique of persuasion. Okay? The entire matter was hushed up. A secretary employed in Consumer Affairs at the time reported that for several weeks after the manuscript had been passed around the office, the subliminal perception material was the main subject of conversation. Suddenly, word was passed that the subject was not to be discussed any further, internally or externally. Considering the U.S. government involvement with advertising agencies and their media, and their enormous research budgets available, it is simply unbelievable that present applications of subliminal technique are not known. They said it's been banned, that it's not used, but it is. It's the biggest lie. It's another lie. Everything that they tell you is a lie, and the opposite occurs. History's proven this. They do the opposite of what they say. If they're working for peace, you know that they're working for war. It's just their way of working, their way of getting their goal and looking like they did the best that they could. Oh, we tried so hard. Any one of these agendas they push through, and when it fails, like Obamacare and anything else, they just deny it, ignore it, just get on to the next deception so we can continue to rape the sheeple. The real war on we the people, the war on women, the war on humanity. So consider all the interesting applications that could be made by the CIA and the FBI in the development of new techniques for manipulating subversives or converting, which instead of overthrowing governments. Well, what about the people? What about if the government or the shadow government were influencing the people to be against, to be for the government and against people that want to restore constitutional limited government? How could we be hated so much? How could we have been manipulated to believe we're so hated? Patriots, constitutionalists, people of faith, people who understand that big government causes big problems. No. You see, because now, using this information, which has been readily used, and Subliminal Seduction is a book that you should all get. I mean, I'm really plugging this book. It's only like 200 pages. It's a short read. You could read it in a day. It may be reassuring to know that Washington has carefully protected the subliminal technology of mass media so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. That's the last word. I think that's the most interesting sentence, the last sentence in Wilson Bryan Key's book, Subliminal Seduction. It may be reassuring to know that Washington has carefully protected the subliminal technology of mass media so it doesn't fall in the wrong hands. It fell right into the wrong hands, directly. And that's why they hushed it up and didn't investigate anymore, like they don't investigate any of these things, that they don't want you to know the real truth. Benghazi, the whole list is on Fast and Furious. I can go rackle off, 9/11. I could just go on and on. Waco, the real story behind Waco, the Ruby Ridge, which still is just, nobody talks about that. These are just radical Christian right-wings. They label everyone. And they're going to label patriots terrorists for wanting to restore what is our nation. Because again, these ideologies don't believe that we belong here anyway. We stole this land. We stole everything, right? Isn't that the whole thing behind these communists? But it's not communists. It's elitists. Uber elite. The wealthiest of the wealthy. And yes, their plan is communism for us. Totalitarian socialism. An iron fist that starts off as a soft glove. And slowly that glove, the leather, starts getting harder and harder, and then points get put on the knuckles, and beads, and spikes, and then that fist comes down on anyone that goes against the order. So Jade Helm has horrific potential consequences to the American people. We're not supposed to trust our government. But Obama says everyone's worrying about tyranny around the corner. Reject those voices. As tyranny is being set up as a chess game. You know, when you play chess, you position your pieces in such a way that at the right time you strike. And that's what they're doing. It's continuous and ongoing until they have it all. And it's going to be a prison without chains. Eventually, they're just going to, cart off these people, and it gets to the point of chaos. And the people will want order. They're going to be screaming for order. All of these people that have no guns are going to be calling police as people rape and pillage when the fall of the economy. And they're going to call the cops, and the cops aren't going to get there. And they're going to say, "Oh my God, I can't defend myself." And mayhem will assume, "You have to help me." And they'll call out the National Guard, declare martial law. The people will cry for it. So the contingencies that are inside Jade Helm there's a superfluous amount of them as well, because they have for social unrest, they have for targeting, they have for extraction. It's insane, ladies and gentlemen. Links to the PDF and all this information that I'm talking about, including this, I have to give props to Truth for WTC7, who I'm putting this video portion, the following video portion from his upload, Jade Helm, the Hardcore Truth Finally Explained, which is just an amazing piece of work. Credit and kudos goes to Caravan to Midnight, episode 309, Jade Helm Decoded, which aired 6/11/2015. Full link to that interview is included in the description box as well. It's an interview. It doesn't even say who the people are in the interview, but whoever they are, they're patriots, and they're brothers and sisters of mine, and I hope of yours. So stay tuned for this important piece.
I heard about this Jade Helm 15 exercise early back in March. Everybody was reporting on it, and I started doing some digging on it, and that's when I started coming across making the connection between the Jade and the Jade Helm, and the Jade, or JADE 2, being an AI software system. Okay, it's basically the JADE 2 system is an AI quantum computing technology that has the ability to use vast amounts of data that's being collected on the human domain, that's us, to generate a human terrain system, which they talk about in that PDF. Okay, in geographic locations, in order to identify, eliminate targets, insurgents, rebels, or whatever labels that can be flagged as targets on a global information grid in a network-centric warfare environment.
Well, it sounds like it's not just a war on the American people. You know, we spoke recently with John W. Whitehead, the founder of the Rutherford Institute, and he has a new book out called Battlefield America, the war on the American people. And this sounds like a war on the people of Earth, because I'm sure we're not the only ones that are going to be using this artificial intelligence, these algorithms and so forth. I'm sure that's what they are, because everything changes over time on the battlefield, virtual or otherwise. So, I mean, is that your sense? Is everybody on Earth in the crosshairs here? I'm thinking maybe they are.
Well, with respect to the JADE 2 exercise, it's kind of being hyped and pumped up out there as an invasion or an occupation of a section of America. At the very least, it's the largest type of RMT ever conducted on American soil, anywhere, ever. So to that aspect of it, I believe the concerns are real. However, I think there is another aspect to this program that's running in the background, this exercise, I should say, that's running in the background that not too many people are aware of, and that is probably by design.
And what are we thinking this thing is that's running in the background?
Well, in short, the software that they've developed, this JADE 2, it's technology that will not be battles directed by generals and military commanders, but by a computer. All right? The JADE 2 system is a network-centric software-based AI program at the helm.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, how did you come to that conclusion without giving away the, everything?
I read it in papers that, let me go back. This isn't actually my conclusion. I mean, everything that I'm going to be discussing with you here today is in the documents. And before we get into some of the specifics that this system is able to do and will be doing, I just want to say that the information that I had found on the net that we will be discussing has been highly sanitized.
Wow.
I believe. It's been, because there's things that are not there that should be there when you're talking about a technical system like this that just, they weren't available in the papers.
Well, just take us where you want to go.
All right, well, why don't we start talking about what the JADE 2 system is capable of? And we can go down this, and I hope this isn't too boring, but you can the JADE.
I'm thinking it won't be.
Okay.
So don't let that be a concern.
All right. This system uses vast sums of information collected on individuals, groups, population-centric regions, and large geographic areas and/or countries. It then dumps all that information into a module called an HTA, which is a human terrain analysis tool, which then analyzes the data to develop an HTS, or human terrain system. Once the human terrain system is established, it determines, and this is going to start to get really hairy, okay? It determines behavioral parameters for norms of individuals, groups, population-centric areas, etc. The establishment of these formulated parameters is known as the human domain, which we've all been hearing about out there in the media and on the blogospheres and everything. It can then identify, extract, or eliminate perceived threats or targets based on deviations from these norms.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay. JADE can also examine the human terrain system over time with the use of thousands of remote sensors, both audio and visual, as well as real-time communication monitoring and other types of HTA tools to change or rewrite its program parameters in a particular human domain. This new information or program template, as well as any other previous program scenarios, is then stored in its Prodigy module, which is actually the battle planning suggestion module, and it can be retrieved at any time for any intended purpose. Now, as this is a knowledge-based or data-driven, mixed initiative, or military/civilian application, it's able to generate complex deployment and battle plans in seconds versus hours, days, or weeks. It can create holographic battlefield simulations on the fly. The deployment or battle planning with this system starts with the receipt of a mission statement, which is then run through a CBR, or a case-based reasoning module, to produce an ACOA, or an adaptive course of action. The word adaptive is key. What's it adaptive to? It adapts itself to the changing human domain. us. It adapts its plans based on changing terrain of human activity. What are some of the elements that are classified as human activity? Okay, your communications, your financial transactions, your travel patterns, habits, behavioral patterns, emotions. Yes, this system can read and measure human emotion and social media content. Okay, the one paper goes on to say that activity can change rapidly in a crisis event or a warfare scenario, and it's able to change or rewrite its own COA or course of action on the fly. The system is aware. It has total awareness, even in a rapidly changing environment.
Hold your place there. Let me ask you something. Where's the central input point for this data that results in these solution calculations?
From what I can ascertain, there is no central data input point. What I've been able to glean from all these papers and that is that these huge data dump centers, like the one in Blufftail and many, many other ones, are connected into this global information grid. So if you want to look at it from that perspective, the global information grid would be the central point on the network system.
Takes me a minute to get my mind around these things, but I'm with you. Keep rolling.
Okay. Now, format, which is the force management module for this system, was developed by the MITRE Corporation, and it's used to support knowledge acquisition. Okay, that's data collection. That's what the NSA is performing on everyone, not just identified threats, but everyone. Why? Because the government now perceives the American people, I believe, as its greatest threat, and it will use a computer-driven military to clamp us down. Patriots will be classified as terrorists, and the true terrorists, the U.S. puppet government we have out there who receives its directives and agendas from the ruling elite, they'll be deemed patriots to be protected at all costs.
Makes sense.
Okay, the third module in this system is known as PARCA. It's able to handle extremely complex structured queries against large knowledge bases or large databases, data dumps. Have you ever wondered why, or has anybody ever asked the question, why the NSA is telling everyone they're only collecting metadata or meta tags?
I don't even fully understand what those things are, but look, if you'll define them and then ask that question again, it'll be easier for us to track with you.
Okay, meta tags or metadata contain virtually no information or data in and of themselves. Meta tags or metadata only have value if they're indexed to a much larger information source or file in these immense databases. So, this is, in my humble opinion, this is just another example of deception through misdirection. Oh, we're just collecting, your phone number as you're passing by, and we're not keeping any of your emails or your text messages or anything like that. Well, if you look at how this system is structured, that's the critical data the system needs. It can't work off meta tags and metadata. I mean, they're virtually empty data until they're indexed to something or something is indexed to them. Does that?
Good Lord. Go ahead, keep going, I'm with you.
Okay. JADE 2 is, and hold on to your seat for this one, it's a self-reactive, self-adapted, self-modeling program for predictive force deployment. In other words, it can predict conflicts before they occur and react in a preemptive manner. It only it thinks in the present, but it can predict future events or human activity. And these conflicts are not confined to a warfare scenario either. Excuse me. The predict and preempt capabilities can also be applied to scenarios of social unrest. And that's not just my opinion, that's stated right in the reports and the papers
All right.
on this software.
Good grief. Okay.
So let's look at some of the other key functionality or capabilities of this system. And right now we're just talking about the JADE system because that's what everybody's concerned about right now, JADE Helm. It can make high-level trade determinations. It makes decisions regarding casualties and targets in line with the overall mission objective. Okay? It is a total command, it has total command and control in an information-intensive society. Now, from a military standpoint, the term command is more or less a legal or a behavioral standard of actions performed or not performed by military officers to which they can later be held accountable. The JADE system displaces that standard from individual commanders and places it on itself. Total command and control of all information over land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace is how they will master the human domain. It says that in the PDF slides. It says that in the software papers. Okay? It can perform machine interpretation of commander's intent. Think about that for a minute. You know, that's kind of, you know, let me try and put this in perspective.
Yeah, listen, don't hold it against me if I'm just being quiet here. I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. This is the deepest that we've ever gone on this subject. So bear more. You don't have to worry about us bearing with you. Just bear with us, okay? just keep going. I am all attention.
Okay, I want to get back to the machine interpretation of commander's intent.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like, all right, I pull up to my house, I pull in the driveway. My intent is to go in the house and sit, you know, watch TV. Now, am I going to enter the house by smashing my truck through an exterior wall, or am I going to enter the house by getting a key off my keychain and unlocking the door? I mean, that, to me, I mean, that is a scary aspect. Machine interpretation of commander's intent.
I wonder if that's to eliminate the possibility of any, shall we say, freelancing out there, or overriding some orders or something like that.
I don't know. It could be.
Okay.
It could be, but I don't know. I'm not sure. This, like I said before, you know, the system sits on a global information grid, which is a, how can I explain this? It's a flexible, scalable, and a dynamic architecture in order to support multilateral civilian and military operations. This global information grid is going to be an important aspect as we go through this. Okay? Oh, here was another subheading in one of the papers, and it was entitled "The Process of Sense-Making in Complex Human Endeavors." Quote, "This approach uses a set of cognitive constructs that translates tacit knowledge to the focal knowing of the objective world." End quote. How are they accomplishing this? They're mapping your mind. That's how they're doing it. And that they are creating these maps with all of the information that's being collected on everyone regarding every aspect of their life. Macrocognition. This is the process the system uses to dissect the human behavioral process. It's cognitive and it's a cognitive and adaptive learning function, and it's this. I'm sorry, I'm stepping all over myself here.
It's completely okay. Gives me time to catch up.
Okay. Oh, I'm embarrassed. Okay, the macrocognition component of the system, like I mentioned before, is a process of dissecting the human behavioral process, okay? Its cognitive and adaptive learning capabilities enables it to predict intent. Now, we're not talking on the military side here. We're talking on either the enemy or civilian side, whichever way you want to look at it. So it can predict intent of an adversary or target, as well as predict a range of potential behaviors of those targets, and it does this instantaneously. This doesn't require a bunch of military commanders sitting around a table, you know, going back and forth. Well, how should we handle this? I don't know. I think we should do it this way. The machine's making the system's making the decisions for them. Oh, here's another statement that was made in the paper entitled "The Tuesday Presentation to Justify the Rollout of JADE 2," and it says, quote, "For a joint commander to define an instruction set to a civilian or military joint force mission to transform a failing state to an agreed upon non-failing end state is a problem," end quote. Okay, and this section goes on to say that, you know, rapidly changing dynamics presents a cognitively difficult task for commanders and practitioners. And the system will do that too.
This sounds monstrous, frankly. It doesn't even sound cool. It sounds...
It is. I think it is.
Scary.
Nefarious. It gets worse.
Excellent.
When you look at it. No. I mean, when you look at it as it is not the be-all and the end-all, this is just a sub-layer, a layer on top of a much larger system that's already in place. Okay? JADE 2 can reconfigure its own network topography to optimize communication and data transfers. In one of my other reports, I talked about BBN technologies, use of bandwidth extenders on the cellular and wireless architecture networks. Well, this is what they're referring to. An example of this might look like, you know, you're driving down the road, all of a sudden you lost cell phone service in a particular area or for a particular time, when in actuality, your bandwidth's been reallocated to the system. Because everything, absolutely everything, communications, everything else is tied into that global information grid. All right, another command and control problem that these concept papers, they're not even concept papers because the software is being used now. Okay, another command and control problem this system is designed to handle is the fact that the enemy has always been able to adapt to a rapidly changing environment to hide itself from exposure. In order to combat this problem, okay, the kill chain had to be compressed from hours to seconds. The system removes the administrative delay in the kill chain. It has no moral compass, no empathy, or regrets.
Wow.
Okay,
No empathy or regrets.
No, it's a computer program. I don't think they bothered to program that in.
It's just like your gun. It doesn't care.
Right.
Okay,
right.
gotcha.
It depends who's putting the directives in it. And it's intended to achieve dominance of cyberspace, cyber power, and cyber strategy. This capability will continue to evolve even though key technical, social, and information trends begin to stabilize. Okay? It'll capitalize on social engineering for offensive military and civilian operations. In other words, this is a technical approach to the tactics employed in Nazi Germany by the Stasi, the brown shirts, and the SS. This is just a technological version of those social engineering tactics they used then. It has a sophisticated decision support system for crowd control. And with the growing civil unrest, not only here in America, but around the world, this is going to be an integral aspect of JADE 2's deployment on the civilian population.
Okay.
Okay, now keep in, well, let me just say this and then, move on to another section here. The hardware that this system's running on isn't your run-of-the-mill supercomputer, all right?
Your run-of-the-mill supercomputer.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's not a cray. It's nothing like that. It's going to be running thousands of processors on a single chip. This is, without a doubt, the direction these command and control systems are moving toward. You just can't process the vast amounts of data being collected using conventional linear computing technology. You get to a diminishing point of return at some stage of the game here with these data dumps.
This is very disturbing. Now, can you hold your train of thought while I pop in and out?
Sure.
It seems to me, DJ, that this is why, while people are going, now, why would Obama or whomever is pulling his chain? Why would they fire all these highly competent military officers? Why are they firing these people who said they won't fire on U.S. citizens? Why are they? Because we don't need them anymore. Because somebody who's completely okay with that is going to make use of this computer apparatus to do the dirty work that they want to do, that these people who have been fired would not do.
I think you're exactly right.
Carry on, my dear.
Oh, this you're going to find interesting. It develops virtual models based on repetitive types of crimes that can predict future crimes that have not yet been committed by either individuals or groups in the COA or the civilian operation area, and then execute a course of action, a preemptive course of action. This is Minority Report's pre-crime technology.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, we can sum up the JADE 2 system this way. I guess it's a self-organizing, vision-capable, expectation-capable, recognition-capable, situationally aware, emotional, intelligent, goal-oriented system. The system thinks, plans, and executes. Remember, emotional behavior, physical behavior, activity behavior outside of the norm identifies targets.
We're going to have to become like Zen / underground warrior priests and priestesses, it sounds like. Talk about steady your mind.
Yeah. Steady your emotions. And above all, no fear. Don't be afraid of this operation from either standpoint, the military standpoint or the system standpoint. When you're in a state of fear or you're in a state of anger, you do not make good decisions. And the system's predicated on that.
And the system is predicated on that. I got to tell you something. I've had some pretty interesting conversations over the years, but I'm about to award this one the proverbial cake. I think this one takes the cake. Even if everything you said was wrong, and I don't think it is, by the way, it's still just so complex, so diabolical, so screwed up in this beautifully engineered way that you really have to kind of step back and admire it. It's like, wow, that is extraordinarily monstrous.
Oh, yes, it is.
But I'll tell you, this makes too much sense. It makes entirely too much sense. And I have to tell you that this is one of those deals where I can't say, oh, I should have seen that coming. I didn't see it coming. The only thing that I felt I had a high confidence about was that, no, we haven't nailed it yet. There have been a lot of smart people come on the program. They are smart. They're very smart. and they've given us their opinions. But none of them grabbed me like this one. And that's nothing against them. I'm just saying, that's right, the women are smarter. You know that thing, that song, the old song, the women are smarter?
No. Nobody's ever sung that to me.
We may have to play that one. Yeah, listen, I'm just, all I can do is blither and try and be an interesting conversationalist at this point, because I got to tell you, you just filled my head with so many possibilities that I'm just trying to keep them at bay without forgetting any of them, so I can delve into them in some quiet moments later. And that's not really the best way to conduct a conversation. So I think I'll take the polite path and just say, please just tell us anything else that you want to, because this is amazing.
Well, with respect to GeoInt,
Yeah.
okay, with respect to Jade Helm, you know, the key is don't participate, don't display an emotional response. The sensors and the data collection, social network, they're going to be picking up on that data, and they're counting on it, okay? And like I said, it appears that the system responses are triggered by negative emotions. Now, with respect to GeoInt, okay, this is a much bigger issue. Okay, you would have to get off the technological grid to the best of your individual ability, and that is much easier said than done. What they've done was, you know, we've been provided with all of this wonderful technology to make our lives more convenient and easier and more interconnected, and what they've turned around and done is they've turned that technology against us. So in order to stop this, which many people may be thinking, well, how do we avoid this? You know, I think the answer is obvious. These huge data repositories, like the one in Bluffdale, Utah, the underground ones they have, the one in Maryland, okay, the threat fusion data collection centers, okay, these data storage facilities need to be unplugged, if you get my drift. Okay,
Yeah,
the data storage media needs to be erased or rendered unusable, because they've already collected so much data. It blows the mind. It really does. Data sweepers like the Gwen Towers and these dirt boxes and other data collection hardware needs to be disabled. We gotta find some way to disable it, jam it. Because let me put it to you this way, all right? How can I say this? The car won't run if there's no gas in the tank.
Right. You know, what we're talking about here is the R word. We're talking about a real, no kidding rebellion. This is really quite dangerous stuff. I have to tell you, it's exciting.
It's very dangerous.
I mean,
I think the word,
go ahead.
yeah, I think the word you used is diabolical. And that's a very good description. Well, the drones are plugged into the JADE 2 system. They directly communicate to the, you know, those little operators you see in wherever it is, Nevada or someplace, or Colorado, where they're operating. Nah. These drones now can be plugged directly into JADE 2.
We have to be vigilant. Freedom is not a given. They will take it if we let them. We have to stand up for the Constitution, stand up for the Bill of Rights, and call out those who defile it. It's not easy. Freedom never is. These are indeed scary times, but after all, we are Americans, and we live in the land of the free. and the home of the brave. Subscribe to Truth Talk News and Howard Nema on YouTube, and check out howardnema.com. Listen to Truth Talk News on any device Saturdays, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on UnitedFMRadio.com.